Well, hello, it's Martha Hopkins, aka Mrs. Hopkins 73 on YouTube, and this is my first attempt at a podcast called Echo on the Beach. It's about the 2008 drama romance series called Echo Beach, starring Martine McCutcheon, Jason Donovan, and Hugo Speer. Okay, so the first episode, I'm going to call it Her Ex Came Back. So it starts out with Jimmy, a young, cute guy. He had a one night stand, so he hides naked behind a door from being seen by a maid. So he jumps out of the girl's window. It's kind of comical. He leaves on his bike towards the beach town of Palnarin, where he lives. Yeah, it looks like the suburbs near the beach. Okay, so his mother, Susan, played by Martine McCutcheon, comes in and she's wearing a cute coral dress and she's prepping the family for a party. Yeah, and so the dad, Mark, uh, he's kind of a stuffy dude. He informs his son, Jimmy, that his best friend is upstairs and yeah, to kind of hurry up and clear out before the party. So we go up to that room and ew, Charlie is mooning some girl on the internet because she called him a geek. This was, I guess, before Geek Chic, right? um, okay, so they're talking and broing around, and they're basically calling dibs on the next girl that comes into town. Okay, so enter Daniel Merrick, and his kids, Abby and Bray, and they come in a red-orange VW van. So Dan and his son like scope out their new beachfront business. It's gonna be like a shop slash like a surf shop slash cafe diner. Okay, so then there's this bar scene with some older folks that mention Dan's back in town. Okay, so cut to a crying brat who crashed her bike, and Jimmy stops to see if she needs help. The mother says, she's okay. She'll be okay. Okay, so he passes a girl on the beach. Yeah, and it happens to be Abby. Yeah, he doesn't really take notice. So he just passes her and she's just looking around. She notices him for sure. Yeah, he's a looker. So she assumes that he stopped to give her a ride. Yeah, he's broken down like on the side of a cliff, looking down at the beach. And yeah, he did not. He did not stop to give her a ride. So wow. He's like a chip off the old block to his dad, Mark, a bit, but yeah, at least he's good looking. So Susan asks where her daughter Grace is going, thinking that she was staying at the party, but no, she says, I'm going out. Okay, so Mark introduces his colleague to Susan and he compliments her. And Mark is a total dick and says he's just bullshitting her. So that realtor informs her that her ex, Daniel Merrick, is coming back to town, and Susan is stunned, quickly blushing and turning to face that jerk husband, Mark. So Dan gives a boy some fishing tips and says, like, the fish are like, they like the wall because it's like sunnier area. Okay, great tip, Dan. So Jimmy and Abby, they get the lowdown on each other. Are you single? Yeah, I'm single. Yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah. Okay. Taking notes. Okay. So he rides her on his cycle down the beach. She rides on his cycle down the beach. Okay. Um, let's see. Mark is visibly angry and downing drink after drink. And he hears about, Dan coming back to town, Susan's ex. And so Susan says, maybe it's not him. And Mark says, of course it's him. Okay, so yeah, later, Dan and his son Bray are taking a snack break as they sit in the dusty cafe surrounded by paint cans and drop cloths. Bray says his mom never got to see the beach. Dan says Bray can hit the surf in the morning, and she would have gotten a big kick out of it. And maybe Dan will show him a few surf moves. Yeah, Bray is not too thrilled about that. But he's not like a snotty kid or anything. Okay, so Finn, there's a patron, an older guy. I don't know if he lives. No, he not lives. He doesn't live there. He's a patron for sure because I think later on we find out that he owns like a trailer park, something like that. It's not called a trailer park over there, but they don't refer to it as a trailer park. Okay, so anyway, Finn, the bar patron, is telling this 20-something guy, Ian, about Dan's boat accident and then like the love triangle of Dan, Susan, and Mark. Yeah, and so Ivy, another older lady, she works at the bar. I think she's like head bartender. She chimes in, calling Dan a killer and that he has no right to be back in town. Okay, so there's an Indian girl here. Her name's Narinda. It's spelled differently, but yeah, they pronounce it Narinda. It actually ends with an R, but let's call her Narinda. Yeah. She approaches Charlie. Oh, she has a crush on Charlie. That is Jimmy's best friend. Yeah, the dark-haired guy, the one that was mooning girls earlier. She asks him if he's going to be at the beach. Maybe they can go together. So Charlie tells her no, but he might see her there. It's a beach party, and the teenagers all go there. They plan to go there like on weekends or something. Or probably every day. They live in a beach town. Why not? Okay. Abby thanks Jimmy for the ride back to town, and maybe she'll see him around. So Jimmy says, it's a small town. Yeah. Then Abby walks away, and then he mentions, well, the gang all hang out at the beach, basically. Might see you there. Okay, so Bray, that's Dan's boy, is planning on the layout of the cafe. He's got a vision. And I guess, yeah, he says that he's the brains and the dad is the brawn, basically. Okay, so Susan waits till Mark is distracted with their party guests and she slips out of the house with her keys and coat. So Mark seems to notice and starts like an inner dialogue. And Abby lies to Dan, says she took a bus back home, mostly. Not really. She got a ride from Jimmy. Yeah. Dan gives them money for some takeaway down the corner. So Dan takes a breather out on the beach while they're gone. He smiles at the big bunch of teenagers heading out to the caves nearby. Guess he has some fond memories of it. So Dan's kneeling down on the beach, writing in the sand. Don't know what he's writing. I didn't catch that. Not suspecting that anyone's around. So then Susan appears to walk towards him from behind. So Susan tells him, you never were hard to find. Dan says, Susan? Wow. Oh, you haven't changed a bit. Susan grins and says, liar. She asks, what are you doing here, Danny? Dan says, my wife Rebecca died a couple months ago. So Susan looks convincingly sorry. Dan says his kids helped him realize he belongs back in town. But at the same time, there are obstacles. 20-year-old wounds. But hasn't being away 20 years been enough that time will heal? Susan doesn't think it's been enough time, that the wounds seem fresh still. Susan reminisces very briefly, then gets emotional and asks Dan to just go. Charlie and Jimmy arrive at the beach party, acting like they own the whole place. And Narinda greets Charlie on the way in and stares at him like a sad puppy as he walks by with Jimmy. Grace thinks she busted Jimmy. Charlie flips her off. Yeah, Grace is kind of a brat. You'll see in the next episode or so. So Susan gets home and pouts. And Mark is like laying on the sofa. All the guests are gone. And he asks her, so how was he? Wow, he's just so full of it. So Charlie propositions a couple that's making out and says he's available for a threesome. And the guy almost punches him. Narinda asks Jimmy if Charlie is interested in anyone. Jimmy says, well, pretty much anyone with a pulse. And hasn't he tried it on with her? Narinda lies and says, oh yes, many times. Something along those lines. Yeah, right, Narinda, you wish. You wish, but yeah. Charlie, oh boy. Charlie spots Abby dancing and reminds Jimmy about their first dibs pact. Abby turns around and Jimmy looks defeated. Dan informed Bray that maybe they should rethink their moving back to this beach town. Bray reminds Dan that you promised Mom. Mom knew that you wanted to be here and to be happy. So they bicker, and then he orders Bray to go get Abby. Okay, so yeah. Abby is happy to spot Jimmy, who is acting strange and a bit stuck up. Charlie pops in and walks Abby away, giving Jimmy a thumbs up. Abby dances with Charlie. Jimmy and Orinda look on kind of jealously. Bray finds Abby and rudely grabs her arm. Charlie attacks Bray, who punches Charlie and knocks him out. Bray continues to pull Abby out of the party, then Jimmy goes after Bray. Mark pops into the cafe where Dan is still working on the floors, and he must have eyes behind his head. Dan knew it was Mark somehow. So Mark rudely says Dan can crawl back under the stone he crawled out of. He's not welcome here. Dan says, that's the theme of the day. Maybe he will pack up and leave. Maybe it was a mistake. So Susan gets to the door, and people start screaming, and they notice that there's teenagers fighting on the beach. It's Dan's son and Mark's son. So they pry their sons off of each other. Yeah, fists are still flying. Mark says, who is this moron? Dan says, he's my son. Mark says, you wonder why we don't want you Merricks around here. Dan says, if he gave your son a slap, it's for a good reason. So Dan tries to leave peacefully. And Mark negs Dan, who goes back and says, he's decided he's staying. He better get used to it. And Susan looks like a ball of emotions. And that is the end of the first episode. There's 10 episodes. That was the first in 10. And I just loved it. I was hooked. I don't know why there wasn't another season. And wow, the writers, man, they should have called me up. I could have had like something for them. I had some ideas probably, like what happened after that cliffhanger at the end. So, are any of y'all watching that? Or did you watch it when it ran in 2008? So yeah, I had to track it down, and I got a DVD copy, and I could play it on my computer as long as I put Region 2 on there. Yeah, so it was kind of interesting to see Martine McCutcheon as, a mom figure. I think that was her first role as a mom, maybe. Gotta think about that. But yeah, I think her and Jason Donovan, they've both been singers in the past, actors and singers, and mixed it up. And I think they're both good singers, yeah. I like a lot of Martine's music, and I like Jason Donovan's. There's one song that is just, yeah, I think it's like has something to do with the beach, and it like brings it back to this, Yeah, so if they ever do a duet together, that'd probably be good. Anyway, yeah, so that is my first episode of Echo on the Beach from 2008. So come back for the next episode, and let's see. Follow me on YouTube. Follow me on this podcast, and share to Facebook. Even share in Messenger. And thank you so much. Bye.